Hello, this is Cuckoo. This year I've been rearranging all of my live sets, and I've basically put everything onto here. There's the OPZ by Teenage Engineering. I did that because I wanted to see how far I could go with this. It's got a great sequencer, 8 tracks with music, and also a CV and MIDI, extra track for CV and MIDI. So in the end, I feel like I put 95% onto this device, including vocals. And then I'm sequencing an external piano sample sound, which has a much bigger sample memory for some of the tracks. But what I want to show today is how I used this microphone. It's a Soyuz 017 tube, and recorded vocals, how I produced the vocals, and found out how I chopped them up and put them onto here as part of the live set. And yeah, I just want to tell you about this mic real quick first. I've seen it in a couple of trade fairs, and every time I listen to it, I've been like really impressed. Especially for my voice, I feel like it has some sort of magical sizzle somewhere that just makes it come to life. So I haven't been able to stop thinking about it. And I reached out to Soyuz, and they kindly lent a unit to me. So I've been borrowing it for actually 2 months now. I should probably send it back right now after this video is done. But yeah, anyhow, let's get to it. I want to show you how I did that. And yeah, basically that's the premise of this video. Let's do it. Okay, so what I've done here is I've used all of the tracks for samples. Everything is samples in my set, and that's because the songs, they originated from a set which I had on my Digitact, so which is sample based. So I started out taking the samples from the Digitact, put them onto here, and then I started to remake everything to fit here. But let's take a look at like a song here. Let's see, song number 7 starts out like this, and then
watching you move is making me cuckoo.
And then we go here.
Please come back to.
I'm coming into here.
Please come back to me. Back.
Queuing up next one.
Got me. Please come back to me.
So, and it's missing this track number 14 right now, which is a piano. But let's focus on the OPZ for now. So what I've done here, let's just strip away all of the tracks and listen to them one by one. Track number kick. I've collected all of the kick drums that I need for the whole set into one kit. Like that, 24 kicks. And then on this track, it's basically snare drums. I'm trying to follow the icons as best as possible. So mostly snare drum type of sounds. As you can hear, I've also added a sort of spring reverb thing in this particular song. Yeah, so I think, let's see, yeah, I think all of the songs in the whole set are using snare drums from this one kit. Okay, and so on this hi-hat cymbal track, yeah, the same thing there. Mostly just one kit with all of the kind of hi-hats and stuff. So it's all one kit there as well for all of the songs. And then when we come to this track, this is now the vocals for this particular track. As you can see here, I've filled up all the slots here with various kits. So now we're on kit number 3, which is this song.
Watching you move is making me cuckoo. Please come back to me. You got me right here. Please come back. You got right here. Here. Right.
Yeah, so what you can do is to isolate all of the samples that you want on your computer, and then you can use this software called OP1 Drum Kit Utility. And in that utility, you can just drag and drop every sample onto the key that you want. OP1 and OPZ, they share the same sample format. So if there is a sample kit for the OPZ or OP1, they fit on each other. The thing is, you only have 12 seconds in total of the memory per kit. So the sample memory in this one kit for the vocals can't be more than 12 seconds. So what I've done there, I started out with a long song, and then I realized, I'm not going to get all the verses in here, all the words. So I made them shorter. And it made me think, what's the most important thing with this particular song? And I tried to just narrow it down to this one phrase that I want to keep.
Watching you move is making me cuckoo.
And I've divided it up to 3 so that I can save some space where it's silent, and also so that I can play around with it later. So for instance, in this particular phrase or pattern, nothing happens because I muted everything.
Please come back to me. Back.
If we take a look at just the vocals here, how I've sequenced that.
Please come back to me. Back. You got me.
So what I've done is to actually just play it live. So
watching you, please.
Yeah, like here.
Please come back to me. You got me right here.
And rehearsing for a bit and then nailing a one take.
Please come back, please.
And then you hear that
please come.
And that is when I'm becoming a little bit creative. It's all samples, it's all small chops now. I don't want to pretend that I'm singing live. I'm not singing live in this case. I'm playing samples. So as all of the vocals are samples, I could play around with it and, be a bit creative.
Please come back to me.
And also I changed the tune there.
Come back.
Come back to me.
Come back. Please come back to me. Back.
So it's samples, and I play around with it. So I'm going to show you how I mix the samples and the vocals in a bit, but I just want to say that I think it's extremely rewarding once you sit there with your sample kit, try it out, and you realize that this is just the beginning. I didn't want to nail the whole structure already when I was sampling the vocals, but rather keep a lot of the composition phase to when I'm actually composing it onto here, because now the vocals is a sample instrument and I'm treating it as such. So let's gonna find another place. Maybe I'm playing around with the samples there as well.
Right here, please. You got me. Cuckoo.
This whole place in the song didn't even exist before I started fiddling around with the samples here. Let's try another song. Let's see this one.
Time.
Yeah, this one is also an example of playing around.
Was about to lose you now. Made me feel much lighter. But drop it in the ocean.
Let's isolate the vocals here. And I'm trying to be consistent. So I'm always putting the vocals on one track. So I know that this is always going to be the vocals. This is always going to be the kick. This is always going to be snare sounds and so forth. This way I can mute and prepare, perform with much more confidence than if every song had different structure. So yeah, so in this case it sounds like this, the vocals.
Was about to lose you now, made me feel much lighter, but I dropped it in the ocean, thought it got away then, straight.
And also here you can see there is a phrase there, and I prepared it, I intended it to be laid out that way, but then the second time I make this, I made like a copy of this pattern and played it again with some variations. I started cutting in and basically sort of changing the message a little bit and making it a bit more, I don't know what's the word is, ambiguous, like to have a bit more meaning.
Was about to lose you now.
Like was about to lose you, no. Just cutting in there with a no. And what does that mean? No, I wasn't about to lose you, or no, like I regret that, or something. And this is now a sample instrument.
Time was okay, it was about to lose it, made me feel much lighter, dropped it in the ocean. No, thought it got away then, but.
And I think it's a lot of fun. It inspires me to write more interesting music. Okay, let's get over to the recording process and see how I recorded the vocals. And yeah, let's do that. Okay, so this is a rather professional microphone, and my room is not professional. I put up some dampers and some professional absorbers that I've purchased over the years, but it's not a professional vocal room, but it's okay. This microphone, if you check it out online, you can see that it's fairly expensive. It's like a lot above what I'd normally consider, but keep in mind that it's competing with even more expensive microphones, like twice as expensive or even more. So in its field, it's considered to be a cheaper option for a very nice sound. Okay, so when I put the microphone on its microphone stand, I make sure that I can be relaxed. I don't want to crouch. I don't want to reach up. I want to be very relaxed in my shoulders and in my whole body. That way I can focus on the vocals, and if I'm like stretching for the microphone or crouching, it will have a negative, mostly, impact on my voice. So I'm going to try to just fit it just right so I can relax when I'm performing with the vocals. And if we check the computer now, with my remote control here, okay, so this is the whole project that I've recorded, but I actually didn't keep all of the vocals. So all of what's red and pink, that's the vocals. The blue tracks up here is the synth. So what I'm doing, and this is the piano that I was talking about earlier. Listen to this. You can hear the piano there, right? It just isn't sample memory enough on the OPZ to handle like high quality long piano samples. So yeah. So before I start recording the vocals, I try to make like a true performance and then fit in the vocals where I imagine them to be. So an intro. We can see something coming up here. Let's see what it is.
You're in my head again. I've been trying to get you out of there for decades. It's impossible.
Yeah, so that's like the opening of this song. And let's see.
You're in my head again. I've been trying to get you out of there for decades. It's impossible.
if this were to be an album, I could have kept as much of the breathing and like the emotional impact a longer take can have with all the air and all the fluff in it. But on the Opus Z, I needed to bring it down to just 12 seconds. I could divide it up into different kits, but then I would run out of memory. Like there's 10 slots for kits. So if one song takes up 2 kits, then I'd be in trouble if I need more kits. So I went for the 12 seconds per song dogma. So out of all of that, I think I kept, let's see.
You're in my head again.
Like that first, it's just silly. So I cut it away. It's not in there. You're in my head again. That's there.
I've been trying to get you out of there for decades.
I'm not sure if it's there. Let's try it. Okay, let's see.
You're in my head again. But about you, me.
No, you're in my head again. That's all I kept from that. Like for the whole song, I made different versions of this song. For the whole song there, I had like a long sort of intro, freestyle intro. But all I kept was this now.
You're in my head again. But about you, me.
And then straight up to all I think about is you. So I needed to be really strict with myself and just throw everything out that wasn't super essential to nailing this emotional impact that I wanted in this song. And I'm trying to promote this mindset to myself and also to others that when it communicates, that's when it's finished. It doesn't have, you could work more on it, but if it communicates, then you should be happy about the song and don't be afraid to show it in that state. It'll take like 10 times as long to produce a song to be really perfect, but chances are that you might lose some important emotional communication of the song if it's too perfect. So I'm trying to promote this idea to myself, and I'm pretty good with that actually, to feel like this communicates something. I'm actually quite happy with that. I could perform this. So perhaps we should make a copy of this and record stuff again and see what it feels like. I'm going to show you how I mixed it. Okay, you're in my head again. That's basically what I ended up keeping. So let's do just that. Okay, and yo, do, yeah, we're connected. 2, 3. You're in my head again. How about that take? That's like the best take. Let's listen to it. 2, 3. You're in my head again. If we compare this sound to 2, 3. You're in my head again. To the other one, let's mute that and unmute this. We can hear that I've done a lot of processing there.
You're in my head again.
It's much crisper and much kind of more defined and fluffier. And so what I've done is compression and EQ basically. And as you can see on the side there is something called an expander as well. I'm going to explain it later why I wanted to use an expander. Okay, let's take another phrase.
Doesn't matter when, doesn't matter why, all I think about is you. Hollow as a ghost named as a dead old tree. That's me.
That's like the original verse. I didn't keep all of that because there's no memory for it. So if I were to make an album version of this song, I think I'd keep more of the lyrics and try to be really strict with performing that vocals. But for this live version on this tiny platform, I scaled it down to the minimum. So what I kept was,
doesn't matter when, doesn't matter why, all I think about is you.
Just that. Okay, so let's try to perform that. Doesn't matter when, doesn't matter why, all I think about is you. Let's do it. Doesn't matter when, doesn't matter why, all I think about is you. Yeah, now we know how much we need, so I'm not going to record all of the others. Doesn't matter when, doesn't matter why, all I think about is you. Okay, cool. So let's keep doing this, see what else. Making me a tracer, a liar in the shallow fret. Was that me? I actually kept that one, that little part there. Was that me? Is that me? Yeah. Okay, let's see here. Now we've got a pink and pink stuff. Let's see what's going on here.
Wanna be with you.
So that was a low, kind of in the chorus there. Wanna be with you. And then some chords here, I think.
Wanna be with you.
Wanna be with you. Wanna be with you. And then here, even more.
Wanna be with you. Wanna be with you.
And this is, I found this formula. It's even more obvious here. Like, listen to this.
Be with you. Wanna be with you.
I tended to make 3 vocal takes on everything, like layers. One high and one octave down here. So I'm octaving myself, and then a third one where I'm standing along like 1.5 meters away from the microphone, and all of that together created this really nice thing. But in this particular song, I think I made more harmonies. Let's see here. What do?
Wanna be with you.
Yeah, that's just an octave. Let's listen to this one.
Wanna be with you.
That's the high. Let's listen to this.
Wanna be with you.
Yeah, look at that hissy. Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna double a track again here, and okay. So I'm gonna mute this, and then we're gonna record these. Wanna be with you. Okay.
Wanna be with you.
Wanna be with you. Wanna be with you. Wanna be with you. Wanna be with you. Okay, so half of the work when making samples for a sampler is to select the right sample. And in this case, when it's vocals, you got to be even more picky, because a repeating vocal piece could be really annoying. But some takes they actually they can take this repetitive playback. So it's really hard to put your finger on if a sample is annoying when it's repeating, or if it's okay. I think you got to be really careful with the timing. If the timing is spot on, I think it's much easier to repeat it without getting annoyed. So let's see. I was a bit sloppy here beginning. Wanna be with you. A little bit careful. Wanna be with you. This is a good example to highlight something. The first take that I was kind of unprepared and didn't really get into it. I was careful and I didn't sing with my whole body. I was just, wanna be. I was a bit, careful. And then I got into it, opening up, releasing tension in my shoulders, standing up, using my belly to my diaphragm, I guess, to support my voice. Like, listen to the first one is really poor. Wanna be with you. Second one. Wanna be with you. Getting into it. Third one. Wanna be with you. Much more perfected. Fourth. Wanna be with you. I think the third one might have been like the one. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is go down to this track and octave myself, 1 octave below, double myself. So, wanna be with you, wanna be with you, and let's see, okay.
Wanna be with you. Wanna be with you. Wanna be with you. Wanna be with you. Wanna be with you.
Okay, so let's listen to that. I don't feel particularly happy about it, but I think there was one or two that were okay. First one.
Wanna be with you.
Okay, first of all, I'm gonna just turn off the effects, so we're starting out with the raw sound. Ooh.
Wanna be with you.
Again, a bit too careful.
Wanna be with you.
Adding more crispiness in my voice.
Wanna be with you.
That was okay, but a bit boring.
Wanna be with you.
That was a bit sharp, I think. I think this is one of these times where you're like, no, I'm gonna do it again. So undo that and do it again. Before I start recording now, I'm gonna get into the mood and practice. Wanna be with you. Wanna be. This way, my voice is already at that place. If I practice and set my voice in the right place already before we start recording. Wanna be with you.
Wanna be with you.
Wanna be with you.
Wanna be with you. Wanna be with you. Wanna be with you.
You might have seen a vocalist do this, lift one ear of the headphones off and one ear is on. This is a way to hear all the music, everything in the headphones, but the voice, your own voice that you hear in the room has such an impact on the way you tune. And when the voice goes through some electronics and down and blends into this mix, sometimes it could be a little bit difficult to hear yourself. So right now, I'm singing an octave below another one, and I want to be in absolute tune to the vocal with the in the high octave. And I find it a little bit difficult actually to hear myself, especially when I'm singing in the low vocal, because there I think it's more difficult to keep in tune when you're singing down here. Wanna be with you. Wanna be with you. So I could try it again and see if I could hit the tune better when I'm actually. Maybe I could even just have the headphones just slightly on and see what it feels like.
Wanna be with you. Wanna be with you. Wanna be with you. Wanna be with you.
It actually felt better. I'm not sure if it sounded better. Let's check it out. Okay.
Wanna be with you. Wanna be with you.
Maybe. Okay, so I'm going to use these takes and just show you how I was mixing. And let's take it from there. Okay, so let's take a look at this first one. In this particular production, I created a lot of the instrumental parts first. And I was imagining where to put the vocals. And then, so the whole mix was kind of dense, and then I needed to fit the vocals in it somehow and make them stand out. If you plan it out a bit more careful, perhaps you could start out with a vocal and then have everything fit to the vocal. So in this case, I needed to make the vocals fit to the track rather than the track to fit the vocals. So let's see where we're at. 2, 3. You're in my head again. First of all, we can see just by looking at this is like the take that I used for the full track, for to produce the samples, and this is bigger, so I recorded at a higher level now. I can see that, so I need to tune the settings a little bit. But let's open up and see what I've done. First of all, when we listen to this, we could hear that it's a little bit muddy compared to the rest of the mix.
You're in my head again.
It's a bit warm. It's nice.
You're in my head again.
And when you listen to it alone,
you're in my head again.
It sounds actually really nice. But together with all the sounds in the instrumental part,
you're in my head again.
It sticks out a little bit as a bit too warm. I'm wearing headphones now. It's because I don't want feedback in the microphone and stuff. And but when mixing vocals, I find it much more relevant to use good monitors. If you're doing it in the headphones, it's really difficult to set the volume and everything right. But if you're using good monitors, it becomes much more natural to set the levels and set the EQ and everything. I know some people are using headphones. They've got this particular kind of headphones that they absolutely trust. I trust my monitors. Okay, so over here we can see I've got an expander, an EQ, and a compressor. That's all I've done to this track. Nothing else. And I'm going to tell you why I used the expander. Let's first check out the compressor here. So let's just listen to this one sound now and see what it sounds like.
You're in my head again.
So it's basically taking the whole sound and just compressing it. Like everything that is loud is pushed down to the same level as the stuff that is not so loud. And then it's taking everything that is now compressed and pushing it up. But what happens then is that everything that was very not so loud, very low volume, is now also going to be very high volume. So all the noise, all the breathing and all the breaks is also going to be very loud. I don't want to. I want the vocals to be loud, but I don't want the everything that is below the vocals to be loud. So listen to this. It sounds terrible now.
You're in my head again.
All of that the noise, I don't want that to be loud. So there's a number of ways to deal with that, of course. I thought like, hey, what if I use an expander? An expander is the opposite of a compressor. This is like the Logic Pro expander. It's not fancy by any means. And I was thinking, what if I expand down? So if I take the silent part and expand it to be even more silent, so silent that it's not even being picked up by the compressor. That was my idea, to expand it and then compress it. So to have like the silent part be so silent so they can't even be picked up in the compressor. So without the expander,
you're in my head again.
With the expander,
you're in my head again.
A huge improvement in this case. So some people could use a noise gate as well. And that way it's going to, whenever you're not singing, the sound is going to be kind of lowered. The volume is going to be lowered. And when there is a substantial amount of sound coming in, volume, then it's going to let the audio through. I always wanted to try the expander and see if I could solve it in a better way than with a noise gate. A noise gate could sometimes be a bit obvious when it kicks in and when it kicks out.
You're in my head again.
So I thought this expander method that gave me a very transparent result. I'm using this Fab filter compressor. You could use any compressor. I just trust Fab filter. I think they have a really fab sound. Let's see what happens when I increase or decrease the attack here. So it was like 0 12. That's like a really fast attack. or 0, yeah. So let's have a very long attack.
You're in my head again.
What happens then is like the volume comes in, and then this detects it and says, okay, lower the volume now, but do it slowly. So with a slow attack, you still get the pops and the attacks. So it's about finding the right balance. If it's like the minimum attack, maybe you don't even hear the consonants very well.
You're in my head again. You're in my head again. You're in my head again.
So if you leave some attack in there of the original volume, you might get the illusion of loud sound and articulation, but it's still going to be a lower and more compressed, easy to handle volume.
You're in my head again.
Another thing you can mess around with is look ahead. Now what look ahead does is calculating, it's reading the audio file a bit in advance. So you can see that in a little bit there's going to be a volume, and then it's going to be prepared for that and handle it much more nicely. So with a huge look ahead, you can really tailor the way that it reacts to volume. Right now it was at 2 milliseconds. Okay, if it's at 0, maybe you still get some pops.
You're in my head again.
I think, although the FabFilter's compressor is really, generally speaking, very, very good. Okay, yeah, so it's a compressor, but we can also hear it's still a little bit muddy in terms of comparing it to the rest of the sound.
You're in my head again.
So I was using a EQ. Let's turn it on and see what settings I had on the EQ.
You're in my head again.
It's actually a dynamic EQ. So a lot of times with an EQ in vocals, it's about getting rid of frequencies that you don't want and emphasizing gently, I'd say, frequencies that you want to emphasize. I try not to be like overly boosting anything. I think this microphone is picking up the details in the voice in a very, very gentle and nice way. So there's already a very good starting point. Just looking at the EQ curve here, you can see that there's nothing overly crazy about it. It's like I've taken care of stuff to make it fit the track, but there is not a lot of problems. So I didn't have to solve a lot of stuff, which is unique. You know, every microphone that I'm using, it's like, oh, how do I do it? It's like crazy. Sometimes it's like one specific frequency, and you just have to like make some really special adjustment in order to get it to work. But with this microphone, it really suits my voice, I guess. Okay, so let's listen to it with the EQ now.
You're in my head again.
Without.
You're in my head again.
Yeah.
You're in my head again.
Crispier, because I raised the top end here. Also crispier because I'm ducking some of these boomy frequencies. Let's isolate these. Those frequencies, and this is very close to that. So what I've done there is taking advantage of the dynamic EQ in this FabFilter Pro Q version 3 to be exact. So what I've done here is to say, okay, I want to lower, you can do it down here, and you can tell them I want it to duck when this frequency gets over a certain threshold.
You're in my head again.
And this too.
You're in my head again.
If I turn these two off,
You're in my head again.
Now it's getting really subtle. If you listen carefully, you can hear that, okay, it's a little bit more mumbling, maybe.
You're in my head again. You're in my head again.
And turning on the dynamic EQ.
You're in my head again.
Kind of ducks there to give it more clarity. So how about muting all of these? Okay.
You're in my head again. You're in my head again.
It's good. It's still good.
You're in my head again.
And let's unmute them.
You're in my head again. You're in my head again. You're in my head again.
It's very subtle. So together with the instruments.
You're in my head again. You're in my head again.
So let's mute these, the top end here. Let's mute the corrections there.
You're in my head again.
And now, when we just listen to the vocals alone, perhaps we're like, well, maybe you don't need to boost those to make that little tad of a correction there.
You're in my head again.
But now, together with the instruments, I think
you're in my head again.
I gave it just that this tad of a lift to kind of cruise above the instruments a little bit.
You're in my head again.
If you noticed, there's one little guy here that I've been determined to drop. So let's listen to only that and see what kind of frequency it is. This is going to be a bit ear-shattering. I was going through this whole mix and I was thinking, maybe this particular frequency up there is sticking out a tad. Let's do the same thing there, and a slight drop, and also a dynamic EQ, so that it drops even further if this particular frequency sticks out.
You're in my head again.
And we can see how it's moving there.
You're in my head again.
This is so subtle, so if I turn that correction off now,
you're in my head again.
You might not even hear it.
You're in my head again.
And to be honest, this region is, at least to my ears, is where this microphone is really special. So let's sweep it and see if we find anything special with this microphone.
You're in my head again.
Okay.
You're in my head again.
Hear that? To me, that sounds really, really special. The way it handles that top end is like this living thing. It's really, really quite interesting, I think. And to have that represented in the top end is maybe also a part of why I think this microphone sounds like S. It's very, very gentle, but at the same time, very, very pronounced. Most of the time, you need to boost these frequencies in order to take care of your vocals. And then it comes to this point where everything sounds bright and crisp, but all of the S's are far too bright, and then you need to use a de-esser to take care of just the S's. But with this microphone, I don't need to use a de-esser. At least not for my vocals, and it's really special actually. Okay, I mean, you probably get to a point where you want to use a de-esser, but I haven't.
You're in my head.
Okay, so that was this. Let's listen to the next part here.
Doesn't matter when, doesn't matter why, all I think about is you.
Yeah. How about that? Let's turn off all of the corrections and see.
Doesn't matter when, doesn't matter why, all I think about is you.
Yeah, more air and more breathing, and more sharpness in there.
Doesn't matter when, doesn't matter why, all I think about is you.
Mm-hmm. So how about this part?
Wanna be with you.
That's the take, I think. Okay, so here I would probably cut that out and export that as my take.
Wanna be with you.
Probably. So here we also had a second take down here. So what I'm going to do now is compare the settings on these. As you can see, it's the same trio: expander, EQ, compressor. Expander, EQ, compressor. So let's check out the EQ here. They're slightly different because these vocals, they play different roles. This is the low one. This is the high one. The high one doesn't have that much low in the spectrum, so handling it differently. Also here we can see the low one. I'm actually boosting the high frequencies more here, and I think I'm lowering the low frequencies more in the low one. So let's listen to them and see what the difference are.
Wanna be with you. Wanna be with you.
Okay, so I'm gonna turn off the EQ now.
Wanna be with you.
Okay, here it's kind of muddy, right? In order to make it fit this music, I need to take care of it. So I did it this way.
Wanna be with you.
Yeah, and together these two tracks sound like this.
Wanna be with you. Wanna be with you.
I actually panned them a little bit. It doesn't matter on the OPZ because it's in mono, the samples there. But I actually panned it right to left here. Okay, let's listen to it together with the tracks here.
Wanna be with you. Wanna be with you. Wanna be with you.
Yeah, I think this one particularly is okay.
Wanna be with you.
Okay, so at this point, you see this whole song here, it's much longer than 12 seconds. So now I started hunting for the specific parts that I really wanted and what I think was working as a sampler instrument. I put them down here.
You're in my head again. Been trying to get you out of there for decades.
I was actually exporting those whole tracks, the whole vocal tracks, and then put it down here. And as you can hear, it's even louder volume now. And I've been using an adaptive limiter, like also from FabFilter again. The Pro limiter is really good. You can just boost stuff and it sounds natural enough, even if it's super loud.
You're in my head again. Been trying to get you out of there for decades.
So now I'm for the song and the mix in the song, I might be a bit gentle, but now I'm being really aggressive because now I want a pretty loud volume on the sample files that I'm going to put on the OPZ, because if they're too low volume, they're not going to be enough gain possibilities on the OPZ to get them up there in the same volume as the music tracks. So generally speaking, if you put samples onto a sampler, make the volume really high. But be careful, if you export and you normalize all the sounds, then the internal volume correlation between the different sounds, the different samples, might be a bit unpredictable. Like a very low sound that is supposed to be low is suddenly maybe going to be very high and loud, and vice versa. So I'm never using normalize to maximize the volume. I'm always trying to mix it so I know that internal volume between the different sounds fit together, and also I boost it with a sort of an adaptive limiter like this one. So, but this is still not good. This is still too much, right? So down here, this is where I actually started to trim it, like really trim it. By now, we've taken all the tracks and trimmed them appropriately, and Yeah, I'm really picky about nailing the starting points of the samples. Sometimes I fade up in order to avoid some clipping, or like this initial sample start snap. Okay, so if we zoom into the starting point of the trim point of this sample now, we can see that I've cut it fairly close. Okay, that should be the best point. Really as close as possible to a zero crossing. If it's a stereo file, it might differ on the right and left, so you might have to add a little fade in. So right now you can see I've zoomed in like really close now, so this is the shortest fade in that Logic Pro offers, but you can make the curve like that in order to. So sometimes I make fade ins like that to avoid like snaps, and if the editing point of this sample would be like right there, you can see that we're gonna hear a snap when this sample starts. Now it's gonna be a little tick, so I'm trying to avoid those kinds of starting points. I'm really picky about it, so I go in really close like this and make sure that the starting point is like as close to zero crossing, as it's called, where the sound wave crosses this line. That's when you're gonna have a snap-free starting point of a sample. So I do that with all of the samples, and also I trim them and make them much shorter than what you typically do, because now after this 12-second limit. Okay, so in the end, I've got these short snippets that I've selected to be part of the sample kit, but let's see how many. Okay, 38. I made 38 samples to be part of this kit now, this vocal kit for the OPZ. And I told you before, there is 24 keys on the OPZ, so there's no way I can fit all of these samples in, but sometimes you just need to have a little bit more to go on and try it out on the actual keyboard and see what works and what doesn't work. So I exported all of that. Yeah, cool. So let's I told you earlier that I also I'm gonna open another song. I told you earlier that I'm using 3 layers, but in this particular sound I didn't use 3 layers for the audio, for the sound. So let's see how Lilybird. Okay, so this is Lilybird. Yeah, this is where I found like the magic formula of 3 layers. You can see main vocal, background vocal, distant vocal. This is the way I kind of layered my audio, my vocals.
Waking up the tremor again. Try to keep it down, all in vain.
So if we take them one by one here, let's listen to them.
Waking up the tremor again.
That's like the main one.
Waking up the tremor again.
And you can hear the background bass vocal there is
waking up the tremor.
Sort of a bit artificially mixed. So the EQ here on the bass vocal, I've made a really strange mix on it, because when you hear it on its own, it sounds a bit strange, doesn't it? Let's see.
Waking up the tremor again.
It's a bit crispy. There is bass there, but I've toned it down a lot. But together with the main vocal,
waking up the tremor again,
it's actually just complementing the main vocal. So that's why I made it. I didn't want it to overtake the lead vocal, the main vocal. So the main vocal, a subtle EQ like the one I showed you earlier. This one heavily edited in a way to kind of make it surround the main vocal. And then we've got the third one that I was talking about, this one. Let's see.
Waking up the tremor again.
Where I'm 1.5 meters away from the microphone, something like that, maybe even 2 meters. And I'm
waking up the tremor again.
You can hear the room.
Try to keep it down, all in vain.
So I'm not using any reverbs or anything. I'm just using this particular room for, as we hear it here. Cool. So together.
Try to keep it down, all in vain.
Got this really tight.
Waking up the tremor again.
Tight vocals.
Try to keep it down, all in vain.
And I kind of did that throughout all of the songs that use vocals to, more or less the same. Sometimes I like
girl, girl,
change it around a bit.
Girl, girl, hey.
Okay, next step, bring the samples into the OP1 and OPZ format. Okay, so this is how I do it. I'm gonna quit this now. Okay, I'm using this OP1 drum utility. This is free, but it's old, so it's not optimized for the current OS. So at some point, maybe it will stop working. I hope that will never happen because it's very good to use. These are slots for samples. You just drag and drop the samples in there. This is the OP1, and you can actually press the keys to play the sounds. So, okay, let's find the samples. Yeah, this one. Doesn't matter when. So, let's see, we got 38 samples there.
You're in my head again.
So, what I do is to try to make a little, layout for the keys here in a way to make it easy to play, easy to sequence, and if I want to, I could just select 24 samples and drag them all in like that. It will all come there. And down here we can see total duration 11.24 seconds. So this is within the limits. It can take this.
You're in my head again. You're in my head again. All I think about is you. You. Does that mean? Wanna be with you. Wanna be with you.
It's good to mix the samples really loud because, that's just the way most samplers want the samples. They want them normalized or very loud. And once you're done with it, I could hold down the command key to erase them. I could hold down the option key to move them around. And also, I think each sample, we could also go to the next page here, which is you can pitch them independently, set different pitches to. So if you're making like a drum kit, maybe you'd like to do that. So if I now,
all I think about is you. Me.
Yeah, so now it's independently mixed or pitched, and the next page it's like this 3 playback modes. Okay, I think this is it. Trig, gate, loop. I think that's the order. So you can set independent envelope modes on each key, each sample, which is good because on the OP1 it respects that, and I'm sure some of you have seen the update that is coming for the OPZ, which with the sample update, it will now also honor these settings on the OPZ as well. So that's great. And this is playing backwards or forwards, and this is an independent gain per sample, per key. So then once you're done with that, just export it and it'll become a file. Sounds like this.
You're in my head again. All about you. Me. Wanna be with you. You're in my head again. All I think about is you. Wanna be with you. Wanna be with you. How about we try again? Is that me?
Yeah. So that's it. That's the sample kit. Now, one thing that I've done for some of the songs, I just needed much more playtime. I needed more. And one trick you could do is to pitch up sounds to make them shorter. Like if I pitch up a sound in the mixing phase or when I'm editing the sounds, if I pitch it up, it becomes shorter, right? So if I pitch it up twice the speed, it's half the size. And then I could fit like twice as much speech into it. And then in here, I could slow it down again. Then we'll have like a low bitrate kind of style. So in one of the songs, let's see, this one, I wanted to have like a lot of talking. So if you listen to this now,
time will tell. Yeah.
You told me there was something I was supposed to remember. I forgot.
You can hear those Smurfs in there, right? It's just Smurf stuff. So if I played like all of this Smurf stuff and I put it here,
Can't remember.
and then I go in here and per sample, I could set the speed like -12.
Can't remember.
Then we're back. So now I could actually fit 24 seconds in there, or even more if I want to. But the faster you play them, the shorter the files get, and when you speed them down again, it'll become like a low bitrate kind of experience. So if I were to take it 2 octaves down, you can hear all the aliasing and that kind of low bit. So, but it's possible, you could do it. If perhaps it's even desirable. In some styles, maybe you want it like really low bit sounds, and then you can make really long samples. Just speed them up before you export them, and slow them down in the editor. Okay, just gonna use an OPZ here. When I boot the OPZ, I'm gonna hold down the instrument key. So hold it down, boot it. It will light up in green, and at some point it will appear here. So if we take a look at the OPZ here, I'm gonna open it there. Go bounces. This is where you can bounce internally on this, a little snippet, a couple of seconds. Config, this is where you can make like custom configurations. Let's go down here to sample packs. Open that. Every track, every music track, like the first 8 tracks here, they can have their own sample packs. And this was I was placing this on the effects tracks. So we got 10 folders there, 1 for each instrument slot. Open that. I can see it's all full here, so I'm not going to place anything here. But the one that I just made there was this was one of them.
Time will tell. Yeah.
You told me it was.
Yeah, and Lily Bird is right here.
Lily bird waking up the trend. You're in my head again. All about you. Me. Wanna be with you. You're in my head again.
Yeah, those are the kits now.
Time to say goodbye.
Yeah, and then you just eject it. It's gonna boot up. It's gonna recognize the samples, and it's done. And then you can just start sequencing and do stuff like this.
Wanna be. Wanna be. Wanna be. Wanna. All I think about is you.
Yeah, so this is the way I'm working with the OPZ as my kind of main performance machine, and it's been really cool to do that. It's so cool to have everything that I need in a small, very, very small bag. Come up to the stage, put it down there, jack some cables in, and you're good to go. It's really, that is pretty cool. It's making like touring a lot easier. I'm not saying that this should replace everything else. The main asset is that it's small, but the main downside is that it's small. It's good that it's small because it's easy to carry around and you can work with it wherever you want. But because it's small, when you're on stage and you have high energy, adrenaline, and going, maybe dancing, and then you're going to operate this tiny thing, it's not ideal. If you had like a little larger controller for it, maybe it's even better to do it that way, because it's easier to grab a bigger knob, a bigger key. But I've done it many times now, and I like it. I dig it.
Friend, girl.
And if you're more interested in these microphones, check them out on their webpage. They have a really good, clean recording library of all of the microphones. Recorded a lot of different acoustic things like piano, drums, kick drums, snare drums, overhead positions, inside the grand piano, double bass, vocalists, violins, and then you can compare them and make up your own mind about it. Don't listen to me. I'm so biased now because I really fell in love with the sound of this to my voice. So everything you've heard in this episode is recorded with this microphone. And apart from the vocals in the music, I've not edited the sound other than adjusting the levels to fit the video. So there's no EQ, no limiter, no stuff like that. Just to give you an impression of what it sounds like. And yeah, if you enjoy the kind of videos that I make here on YouTube, please consider throwing in some donation if you're at that level of appreciation. I'm using something called Patreon, which is a crowdfunding in subscription format. So anyone who subscribes to me over Patreon, they get access to downloads and patches and libraries that I sometimes share, and that is cool for you. But for me, it's really cool to have this little extra tip. If many people show a little appreciation, that is so helpful for me in order to focus to make more videos like this, which is what I do and what I want to do. So I want to do more and more interesting videos for you. And if you're not up to this monthly donation commitment, which I totally understand, I also got a web store. It's called store.truecuckoo.com, and all these snazzy t-shirts you can get at my t-shirt store, which is t-shirts.truecuckoo.com. It's all on my webpage, truecuckoo.com. So you can get to all of these places over there. Cool. Yeah, it's been cool hanging out. Let's hang out again, shall we? Okay, see you.
You're in my head again. You. Zap me. Zap, 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 zap. You're in my head again. You. Zap me. Beep, 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 beep. Wanna be with you. Wanna be with you. Wanna be with you. Wanna be with you. How about we try again? We try. How about we try? You're in my head again. How about we try again? How about we try? You're in my head again. Wanna be, wanna be, wanna be, wanna, all I think about is you. Wanna be, wanna be, wanna be, wanna, all I think about is you. You're in my head again. You head. Zap, nap, beep, beep. You're in my head again. Zap me.